Israel may be keeping mum, but an American source confirms the explosions that rocked areas near the Syrian capital over the past couple of days did in fact come from Israeli airstrikes. The target said to be storage sites for missiles. Syria is not keeping quiet at all. Officials there saying the action amounts to what they call a declaration of war. Let's go live to our Pentagon correspondent, Barbara Starr. She's been on top of this story from the start. She's the first one who reported about these Israeli actions. Barbara, what's the latest?
Well, Wolf, we now know indeed it was Israeli warplanes pounding targets inside Syria from Lebanon, flying over Lebanese airspace. And as you say, Wolf, the question now is, could the U.S. be next to act? Even after a Damascus suburb was bombed, Israel officially still isn't talking.
We cannot confirm neither deny any activities in Syria.
But with the destruction so visible, a U.S. official confirms to CNN that Israeli warplanes bombed this weapons depot, which Syria claimed was a research facility. This was just 48 hours after an initial Israeli strike at the Damascus airport, another weapons storage area, according to U.S. officials. Israel vows its red line is to strike at weapons it believes the Assad regime is sending to Hezbollah in Lebanon, weapons that could directly threaten Israel.
And we will not allow Hezbollah to obtain the weapons that Syria.
Intelligence showed the airport was housing Fatah 110 missiles. With a range of about 100 miles, that missile can hit Tel Aviv from almost anywhere in Lebanon. Israel's moves are ramping up pressure on the U.S. military to act, some calling for a no-fly zone to protect Syrian civilians.
If we can't take on the air defenses of a country like Syria, then we've wasted a lot of the taxpayers' dollars.
But the Pentagon insists Syria's air defenses are a more significant threat than the U.S. faced in Libya.
It's 5 times more air defense systems, some of which are high-end air defense systems, that is to say higher altitude, longer range.
As in the past, General Dempsey is dead wrong.
Former Air Force intelligence officer Cedric Leighton says there's a big difference between Israeli and U.S. military options.
The Israelis had the advantage of having basically 2 strikes that they were able to work very carefully. If you have a no-fly zone, you have to have a much more active suppression of enemy air defenses.
But if President Obama's red line is crossed and it's proven the Syrian regime used chemical weapons, the U.S. might have no choice but to get militarily involved. But a UN investigator suddenly says maybe the regime didn't do it.
What appeared on, to our investigation that was used by the opponents, by the rebels. And we have no indication at all that the government, Syria, the authority of the Syrian government have used chemical weapons.
The UN later cast doubt on that statement, and U.S. officials say so far there's no indication the rebels had or used chemical agents. And just how emboldened does the regime continue to be, Wolf? Well, consider this. We learned today that U.S. intelligence now shows the Assad regime has fired ballistic missiles against its own people 250 times since December alone.
Yeah,
Wolf?
about 80,000 Syrians have died over the past 2 years. Millions have been made refugees either internally or externally. What are the chances? I know the U.S. is not going to send troops in on the ground. Probably they're not going to do a no-fly zone or anything along those lines. Probably not even doing airstrikes. But what about cruise missiles, unmanned cruise missiles going in and knocking out some sites in Syria, which is what the U.S. obviously did in Libya to get rid of Gaddafi?
This is the big question, Wolf. You're absolutely right. Unmanned, obviously, cruise missiles, precision-guided, going right to the target that the U.S. picks. But here's the question. What would that target be? If you're going to bomb a chemical depot where there is chemical agent, very risky business that civilians in the area could get seriously hurt by that. If you're going to bomb downtown Damascus, essentially, the palace, government ministries, what Assad holds near and dear, you are upping the ante. But I got to tell you, Wolf, around the Pentagon hallways, every day, it's the question you keep hearing more and more about. Will the White House order the U.S. military to step into the action?
We'll see. I suspect things are happening right now. We'll see where they wind up. Barbara, good reporting. Thank you.